Welcome. I'm Tom, and I'm going to show you some important tips and techniques to capture great sounding audio using wireless microphone systems. This video is a companion to two others I've done to introduce and review a few wireless systems that are available for you pretty inexpensively, and are great for mobile production. You can find the other two videos linked in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. You may notice that some videos sound really great, and others are kind of hard to hear. This is especially common with videos that are made by normal people, not trained filmmakers. But you can make your audio sound more professional with some simple steps. You want to begin by preparing your equipment, in this case, a simple smartphone. First, be sure your phone's battery is charged. This is especially important if you are trying to record a longer story, a music performance, or something that takes more time and is hard to come back to capture. Second, whenever you are recording audio, be sure to put your device into airplane or flight mode. This turns off the cellular system so you don't get any interference or messages or anything coming in that can mess up your recording. Finally, be sure you have a good camera app on your device. Your stock camera app that came with the phone might be just fine, but older or less expensive phones might have very limited controls. We recommend Open Camera as a free recording app if you're using an Android phone. For more professional features in a paid app, we will always recommend Filmic Pro as a top pick for Android and iOS devices. Why do you think I try to pay attention to the location where I'm recording and filming? Well, you may have filmed something that looked great on camera, but has other serious problems, like a lot of noise in the background that made it hard to understand. This scene didn't look bad from the other angle because you couldn't see the street, but you sure can hear it. Or you may be filming in a building like this one, where there may be noises that you don't notice at first, like an air conditioner or refrigerators or people chattering in the background or overhead lights like in this building. Think about your audio just as much as you think about your video image, and when you pick a location to film, stop and listen before you start filming. Now, let's get to setting up a wireless mic system. And just because you're using a wireless microphone system, it doesn't mean you have no cables. But you are free from wires connecting the person speaking with the camera or recorder. Generally, you always connect the output of one thing to the input of another. But with microphone systems, you need to know what kind of connector to use. Systems usually come with multiple adapters and short cables. Smartphones use a TRRS connector. Look for the 4 little sections on the connector. Other devices might use a TRS connector. Look for the 3 little sections on the plug. When you plug a microphone or receiver into a mobile phone, most software recognizes there's something plugged in to an external jack, like the headphone jack or the USB or Lightning connector. Now, a mobile phone isn't really made with a way to attach a wireless receiver. But if you've made this investment, I'll assume that you have a few other pieces of basic gear, like a tripod or maybe a little rig to hold the phone steady. If I'm using a tripod, I might just use some tape to hold a receiver so it's not just dangling by the wires, which is never a good idea. That'll work fine for scenes where you aren't moving around a lot. If I'm holding a camera in my hands, I like to use a little rig to help me hold the camera steady. And they have points where you can attach things like wireless receivers that fit into camera cold shoes like these. In a pinch, you could just use a rubber band or something to hold it all together, but it won't be ideal. Once you have the cables connected and secure, you want to check your software to see if it's hearing the microphone. Some apps require you to choose an external microphone rather than the built-in mics. For instance, when I'm using Open Camera, I can choose the external input, and other apps will even let me see meters on the screen to know that I have audio. Many apps automatically sense that something is plugged into the device. Wireless mic systems are very simple to use and often come ready to go with just the push of a power button. I'm using a Rode Wireless Go for this part, and when I first powered it up, the transmitter pack and receiver connected automatically. But if not, you can pair the transmitter, which is on your subject, with the receiver connected to your mobile device. You can typically just push a pairing button, like this link icon, and each piece will find the other. Once your system is paired, check the audio on your recording app. Some receivers have headphone jacks and meters, so you can see a signal and listen from the system. But that doesn't tell you if the cable is working correctly. Does your app have meters to show you it's working? If not, you can record a few seconds and listen to it. In any case, I always do a test recording before I actually do any filming. Just record a few seconds of audio of your subject talking and listen back using headphones if you can. They will help you hear small problems that you might miss if you just listen using the mobile's speaker. My number one rule to get good audio is to get the microphone close to the subject. With a wireless mic, attach the mic in a good position, close to the speaker's mouth, but not buried under noisy clothing, knocking against jewelry, and things like that. Use a windscreen if there is any kind of breeze, even a small one. The really big fuzzy windscreens are for stronger wind, and you may want to try those. Wireless mics, of course, let you move your camera far away from the subject. It's best not to try to record over really great distances. These systems are usually good for about 100 meters or something like that. And what you want to avoid is shooting over hills, around corners and buildings, or around places that have a lot of electrical interference, power lines, other kinds of sources of noise like that. But they work pretty well over a distance. Also, if you are trying to hide the microphone for some reason, or filming in any challenging place, test your audio recording before you begin your scene. Listen to see if you hear scratching from clothing, or if the signal seems to come in and out during the shot. If you hear problems, change the position of the microphone. Move the subject closer to the camera. Be sure you always have a clean view of the subject, or come up with some other creative solutions. Of course, if you're recording something like an interview, a dual microphone system is really useful. And this time I'm using the Synco G1A2. The process is exactly the same to choose your location, connect your cables, set up your transmitters and the receiver. You may have noticed that I was using the transmitter pack clipped on my shirt for most of this video. For interviews like this, I like to use the lavalier mics that come with most of these kits. On a shirt without buttons, like this one, I can clip it on the collar and run the cable around my back or down my shirt to hide it. It doesn't look quite so good on the collar. But if your subject is wearing a jacket or a top with buttons, the microphones just clip on. But try not to leave the wire just dangling down in front. It's just not professional looking. With these systems, each subject gets a transmitter pack and then the camera has a receiver. Check the battery. Put the phone in airplane mode and be sure you have the right cables. Assuming you've got it working, the main choice you want to make is whether to record each microphone separately or together. This system has a button to choose. It can record both subjects mixed together as one signal, or it can split them to two different audio tracks. On the Synco, M means separate tracks, S means they're mixed together to stereo. If I'm going to quickly edit something on my phone, I would probably choose to record both channels mixed together as one track. It's just simpler, but I have less control over the volume of each person's voice. If I can use a separate computer editing program, I might leave the tracks separate because my editing software will let me adjust the levels separately to give me more control. Welcome. Thanks for letting us do the interview here today.
I'm happy to be here.
Great. That's it for the basics of using a wireless mic system. Remember, you want to be sure to set up your device, choose your location well, know your app and connections, and test your audio before you film. Here's to great sounding audio. It will make a big difference for any of your videos. Thanks for watching, and look for other videos in this series, and subscribe to the Mission Media Coach channel. Thanks.